What's up, magic friends? It's Lloyd Barnes. Today I'm going to share with you 3 tips. One's a subtle nuance on a coin vanish, and the other 2 are performing ideas so that hopefully you can make your magic more believable and possibly simplistic in their aesthetic. So I'm going to cut right now. Okay, so for this you're going to do a very classic, Goshman style vanish, in which it appears that you're throwing the coin at a fair distance into the other hand and retaining it somehow. Now some people clip the coin when they throw it like this. Some people, use their pinky to do it. These are all from like Bobo, Goshman, Flosso style people in the, from the last like 100 years or so. But the small touch that I'm adding to it is a natural hand placement for me. Everyone's different, so you may have a different natural hand placement. But I've seen some people do it, and they end up, when they clip it, they have to keep their hand sort of straight because they can't really release any tension of the fingers. So all I'm doing is essentially I'm doing this, and I'm clipping the coin, let me show you, with the tip of my ring finger on my right hand, or whatever hand you want to use, in between the middle section of my middle finger, so it's right here. Now, this may seem like a really small detail, but what it does is that 2 things. It makes your hand look natural, because if you relax your hand, it kind of looks like this. So it makes your hand look natural when it sits there, but it also gives you a window. Now, most time, I'm not sure if I've seen this before, but most people want to have no windows when they perform coin magic, because you can't see through the fingers. The window is when you can see through the little gaps of your fingers, right? I actually want a window, and I want it right there, because I want them to think that there really is nothing there. And if you get this right, just when you're performing, it'll be for a split millimeter of a second, but they'll just see through this finger here, and they'll convince themselves that the coin isn't in the hand. It's really odd, but it's something I've been doing for just as long as I can remember. And it was because I couldn't find it comfortable to hold it in any other clip other than that. So the small tip from the exposed view, I'll actually show you from A to B what it looks like. I place it on my middle finger in the center section between these 2 creases. So I display it around, and I don't like to do a lot of back and forth action. I like to just keep it static, so it's like a really clean, direct view of the coin. So I show the coin all around, and then as I come to do the move, my ring finger curls up, and it just pinches this coin like that. Now, you do that as you turn your right hand. Sorry, it's hard to do slow. As you turn your right hand, so they can see the back of the palm. Okay. Try and relax this thumb too. So when it comes over, it's like this. Now, there's a few other little details, but basically you want to try and get this to catch the light. So if you can see a light shining on you, that's good. If there's a light behind you, that's not so good. So when you're performing, try and just say, stand here, or actually watch this. And if you turn, people will usually just naturally turn and follow you if they're interested in you. So point your feet in the direction that the light's coming from, and they should sort of gravitate towards it. But again, it takes a lot of practice, but you're going to clip that coin as your hand turns. This. And what that does is, if your fingers out the way, they get to see this coin like that. This is in like slow motion, so they see this coin like this. I keep about half a foot distance, maybe, or sometimes a foot, depending on how I feel. But they're going to see this coin come from here, just go out of view as you pretend to catch, and it really looks like that coin goes in there. Now the interesting thing is, you haven't got to do this really fast. You can do this pretty slow and go from there. Now, I do think it's important to have the gap, because if you do it close, it doesn't look as good, and sometimes they can see under your fingers, which I don't like. So I like to do it from a fair distance. It kind of looks like it just goes in. Now, the rest of this is mime. You want to mime catching the coin. Imagine what you do if you really catch a coin. You kind of try and bring it to your fingertips or do some things. It's not going to look exact, because in real life they would catch a glimpse of the coin, but you want to just be casual. You're going to do it, and you're going to act like, maybe use your thumb to move the invisible coin around. Make sure it's important to stare into this hand too. You don't want to do the move. You don't want to do the move and then be staring at the dirty hand the whole time, which is a key point for those who are just starting out with coin magic. So you're going to do it like this, maybe manipulate it with your thumb and make it vanish. So that's it. That's the small touch on the coin vanish. Just to curl this ring finger onto the middle finger and allow your hand to look far more natural. I think, it's only for me because it's the way I hold my hands naturally, far more natural than you know, like this sort of paddle position, or like I don't find it comfortable to do pinky clips and stuff. So for me, this tiny difference allows them to think that your hand's actually empty, because they can see through the fingers, and you look more natural. So these next two tips are going to hopefully make your magic more believable and sort of simplistic in their aesthetics. Now, the first tip, it isn't going to be applicable for everyone, but you know, the guys who are using like 20-30 tables a night, but for me, it really helps sell my magic and make it as believable as possible. And it's really simple. It's just before you begin, say, a coin effect, I take my watch off. I just take a moment and I say, before we begin, I'm trying to take my watch off, my bracelets off, and anything that could clutter your visual aesthetic of your hands and body, right? Now, there's been other people speaking about this before, but the concept behind this for me is that there's this moment that occurs at the second the magic happens, which is before the reaction, and this sort of brief split second can depict how they're going to react. So, for instance, we'll use the watch as an example. If you do a coin vanish and they see a watch, and a lot of spectators, especially ones that are going to try and work this out, will instantly assume that it's something to do with the watch. Maybe it's tucked in or hidden with the watch. And if that's their first thought, then their reaction will be more of an impressed at skill reaction, or impressed like they solved a puzzle even if they've got it wrong reaction, as opposed to that true sort of a moment of astonishment or sense of wonder or reaction to real magic. And this is because if you remove the watch and then you make the coin vanish and it's done well, they have nowhere to go, or they should have nowhere to go. In their mind, that creates some sort of weird paradoxes for a brief moment before the reaction, and then the reaction comes when it's sort of like that break, that release, and it's just this sort of weird magic euphoria. And it sounds really deep-winded and airy-fairy, but it's like this deep, like sort of moment of like amazement or euphoria where there's nowhere to go. And just by removing any bracelets or watches can really help enlarge this moment, or intensify that moment. For me, this is a really important thing. I like to do really strong magic, which is very magic based. Now that sounds silly, but some people prefer to do like skill magic, you know, where they're flourishing, or you know, doing coin rolls and they want, or gambling demonstrations. They want their spectators to believe that they're a skilled individual. Sometimes cross it with magic, or you know, it is magic, but they don't mind skill being the reason. For me, it's the polar opposite, where I don't want to be seen as skillful in any way, and I want to be believed as a magician. And by doing these simple things, I can give, well, hopefully, like, negate that real sense of wonder when I do coin vanishes. So that's my tip number one. Sorry for going on, but that's what I think about it. And tip number two is really simple. It's even more basic than that. In the video, I used a US $half, just so it was big and you could all learn from it. But in reality, I only ever use coins that are current to that country, so that foreign currency. The currency of that country. And that's because, even for me, if you perform with a coin from somewhere else for no reason, or whatever reason you give it, but it's not a genuine one, in my mind that creates some sort of friction or some sort of like mental fluff. And even if they're thinking about that, the reason for that coin for a split second longer than they should be, that's still too long for me, because I want them wholly engorged, like completely immersed in the fact that what's happening is as real as possible, and there's no outside factors that could contribute to the way these things are done. So if they see a foreign coin, and this foreign coin is doing things that they've never even seen a normal coin do, then the foreign coin becomes the method. And it sounds a bit silly, and maybe I'm thinking too much into it. It's just how I approach performing. So yeah, just borrow a coin from them and do coin magic with their coins. Even if you need to use special gaff coins, then by all means get some in the same currency as the country you're in. But it's just this overall, try and remove any mental friction or visual fluff and keep things as basic as possible. So I've probably rambled way too long, but those are my two little tips that could help make your magic more believable and more simplistic in their general visual. Okay folks, that's the end of another tip video. I hope you all enjoyed these tips. Please comment below with your thoughts and your feelings about what I've talked about today, maybe with some ideas of what you want to see in the next video from myself, from Adam, from G, from the rest of the team. Also remember to hit subscribe and share this with your friends. The more of you that take part in watching these, the more that we'll make, and we want to help share with you as many tips as possible. So we hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, share, comment below, and we'll see you in the next tip installment.